Yo, everyone. This is Freedom Lab, Season 1, Episode 2. I'm Jam at Peaceful Media. This is my man, Jimmy Farris.
What's up, everybody? Ready for week 2?
Woo! I feel like we're coming out of Washington Grizz Stadium, dude, and hitting that thing on top of the wall, coming out 25,000 or whatever it is over there in Missoula, saying, come on, I can't wait to drink all this Bacardi 151 and get my swerve on up in these stands.
Don't forget Welcome to the Jungle is probably playing as we take the field.
Right. So we're going to do some roll call here. We're going to do some roll call University of Montana style. Now, my pops watched the first episode. He said he made it to 15 minutes, which I think is really good for the older generation. You know, they're well known for a lot of ADD issues, and not this young generation though. We can sit down and settle in and get an episode of 30-45 minutes. So he said that we just sounded like a bunch of jocks talking about our history and past. I was like, Dad, come on now. We got to frame the relationship. We got to frame what this season's all about, what this show's all about. Is brand new. So today we're going to be getting right into branding and positioning because as I was just saying on this Facebook Live, inviting people in, if you try to come out with a broad message in the self-help, personal development, be the best you can be market, you're going to be in bad shape when it comes to marketing, and you'll be relying on a lot of charisma and connections, but nothing really strategic to carve out your place in this marketplace. So before we get into that, we got to get our little dance party going. So if you're all here, go ahead and announce yourself in the chat room. Say, yo, my name is, and I'm hailing in from wherever you're coming in from. Here comes our video. Let's just get started with this right here. I think this takes me back to Aber Hall, and yes, Dad, we are taking it back to college for this minute. Okay, so announce your name and where you're coming from, and then we'll get started with the show after these messages from the Notorious B.I.G. My accountant handles that. Jimmy, my man.
What you got?
All right, man. So let's launch right into this, and by the way, folks, keep chatting up in the chat room over here. We're gonna keep responding to you and saying what up. Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Carolee, for joining us today live. This is great. You get to ask your questions all throughout the show, and we'll just keep coming back to those and see if we can personalize what we're going to share with Jimmy's brand with your brand as well. So this is your opportunity for free growth and business development, coaching, and consulting. So Jimmy, launch us off with one of your 33 success mental toughness principles, bro.
Sure. One thing. Anytime you're involved in something new or something that you've known or whatever, is this idea that we talk about a lot in mental toughness. The idea of simplification, or to simplify, right? Some of the most successful, happiest, most fulfilled out this secret of simplification. And sometimes, people think that the more complex something is, or the more intricate it is, or the more difficult it is to understand, that the more impressive it is or the more effective it is. And it's just really not true, right? World-class thinkers actually believe the exact opposite, that the more you can kind of distill something down to its most simple form, that's where the real gold is, so to speak. You talk about something like Einstein's theory of relativity, one of the more complex theories probably in human history, something that most scientists have struggled to understand. And when asked to explain it, Einstein said, well, have you ever had to spend an hour with somebody that you really didn't like? Right? It felt like the time just drug on and on and on. Conversely, have you ever spent an hour with somebody that you really like? Maybe a girl you were, had a crush on or whatever, and the time went by like that. That's relativity, right? So breaking something very complex down to a really simple form. I remember when I was playing football, and people were always talking about, dieting and working out and different things like that. And people kind of saw me as maybe somebody that knew a lot about that, because, I was in pro football and I was essentially, getting paid to work out and be in shape. And, they always wanted these really complex, difficult ideas. It's gotta be something really, really scientific. And it's like, well, if you're overweight, if you're 20 pounds overweight and you want to lose some weight, eat less and exercise more. How about that? Right? That's simplification for you, right? Sometimes some of the things that are seem to be really big, difficult problems in our life, if we just break them down into these really, really simple ideas, then we can find solutions and find the success or the happiness or fulfillment that we're looking for. So just one quick principle for you, quick tip. Obviously, there's much more to expand on that, much deeper to dig, but just to kind of scratch the surface of it. Anytime you can simplify something that seems really complex, sometimes you can find, most of the time you can find that answer, or you can find, whatever that wisdom is that you're looking for.
True that, man. So awesome success principle for today, mental toughness challenge. What do you call those? Mental toughness tips? I mean, so everyone knows here, if you didn't, we're on episode 1. Jimmy is writing personal brand here. So Jimmy, what do you call these that you're going to be including in the book?
I call them mental toughness principles. So these are just
principles, okay.
Principles that you can apply to various situations in your life. Some of them are very specific towards specific certain situations. Other ones are more general, kind of more ambiguous. But these are principles that you can apply just to different situations. And ultimately, the idea in anything we do in personal development, again, talk about simplification. People always say, well, what is personal development and what is all of this, stuff you guys always talk about? It's simple. This is, or these things should be, processes to help you get closer to what you want, or ultimately help you get what you want, whether that's, a better life, a better job, a more fulfilling career, whatever that is. The idea is that everybody wants something. Most of us want something more than what we're currently getting or what we currently have. And so anything we do in personal development is aimed at moving you in the direction towards what the things that you want are. So that's really what they are.
Okay, cool. So I asked you to tee this one up because today we're talking about simplifying your message. And when in branding, it really is a distillation of what you do. in a way that's easily knowable, unique, and feels personal and valuable and relevant to the person who's landing on your website or your marketing or your message or your social media, et cetera, or seeing you on a stage for that matter. They'll know that it's for them because you've distilled it in such a way that it connects to their pain points, their aspirations, and says all in a little nutshell, how different from every other person teaching the same basic concepts. So can we all agree here? I mean, go ahead and chat it up in the chat room here. Helping people get what they want is kind of like the broadest branding statement we could choose as a life coach or a performance coach or fitness coach. I mean, anything we do in thought leadership or the industry, as our friend buddy Brendan Burchard calls it, this expert industry, if you say, I help people get what they want, do you know what you want? Yeah, okay, I help you get that. That is the easiest way to not make any money or get any traction in this marketplace. So because we all do that, right? I mean, peaceful media, we help people get what they want. What then? You know, so what's underneath that? So today's episode, we're really going to be unpacking that. And one thing that we always do here when we're working with clients personally, even before we do any design work or branding work or copywriting, et cetera, is we have our clients go through the branding and positioning assessment. And Jimmy spent quite a bit of time. It's a lengthy document because each of our strategists on our team are looking at things from a different angle. A designer is going to look at different cues than a copywriter, than a strategist, than a project manager, et cetera. So Jimmy, what were some of the things that really, what were some of the prompts that we gave you in the branding and positioning assessment? By the way, I am a very tangential speaker. We do a Facebook group now where we're going to be sharing, we are sharing the documentation that Jimmy is putting together, including his $10,000 budget. So we're going to list everything that he purchases in this pursuit, in this journey to a six-figure brand, so that we can document and see, okay, we have 10K over the next 33 weeks. That is like nothing when it comes to business investment. So we have to be really smart about this, right? So we're going to list everything that we do because everything that he does has to have really great impact in his business. So anyways, this document, this branding and positioning assessment, we will put that up in the Facebook group as well. Just search in Facebook for Freedom Lab and you should see it, Freedom Lab Show. So anyways, Jimmy, what were some of the prompts that really like made you go, wow, okay, I need to go a little bit deeper than what I've been posting on Facebook, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with, those questions about what exactly do you think your audience wants or needs to hear? Because a lot of times I think, we have a tendency to just, put out there either what we want to talk about or what we think people want to hear. When you're just starting out, you don't have the luxury of, getting a lot of feedback, right? You don't have the luxury of researching the industry or, having people do polls and surveys, things like that.
You don't have a Gallup in your back pocket.
Right. Again, to kind of take it back to something I've done before. I mean, when you talk about what's going on right now, like in the political process, right? In the election, especially presidential election, they get a poll on just about everything down to the color of a tie that a candidate should wear, so ultimately they're trying to give people what they want and what they want to hear. And some of that, people can view that as being disingenuous because you think, okay, well, they're just pandering and saying whatever they think I want to hear. But in the personal development industry, I think it's really important because ultimately, if you're not addressing what people's needs are, then, what are you really doing? There are some people who can kind of, set the trend, so to speak, right? They introduce a new concept and then everybody gets on board. But I think what's more important is to discover exactly what people need, kind of meet them where they are, and then move forward. And so that's kind of been one of the biggest things for me as I went through that whole assessment, deciding, well, man, what what really is what would be my target audience? What exactly do I think they want to hear? Not what do I want to communicate to them? What do they want to hear? Who are the,
yep. Yeah, that's what it takes too, is that listening ear. You can make all sorts of assumptions and best guesses, and oftentimes when you're just starting, that's what you have to do. But the more we ask, the more we build surveys into our marketing automation, the more that we just get on the phone with our customers and prospects and say, hey man, where am I missing? Or how can I best serve you right now? The more we can do that, and obviously you have to have people listening first, but it can start with one, right? And it's bigger than going to your mate or your partner or your friend and saying, hey, so I was launching a brand here, and so like, what can I do for you? Because
right.
like you gotta ask these questions intelligently, and you also gotta figure out like who's actually going to give you answers that are going to matter in your branding and positioning.
Right. Yeah, no, it's crazy because a lot of times we think, because a couple of our friends comment on a Facebook post and they're like, awesome message, Jim, I love it, that you're like, yes, that's what everybody wants to hear, and it's like, well, I mean, people are supportive and people, give you a little bit of feedback, but at the end of the day, you really, really need to drill down and find out what exactly is going on in the marketplace right now. Do people need, this? Do they need that? I mean, everybody's got, multi-layered, multi-dimensional messages. There's a number of directions that any of us could go, but you really need to determine what exactly people want.
Right.
Again, some people have the power to kind of set the market and set the trend. Other people, you need to kind of figure out where the demand is and offer a product that meets that demand.
All right, perfect. This tees me up. So I'm going to go through the BPA that you filled out and just kind of highlight. I'm going to share some things that I highlighted and marked as hot, or I need to unpack this, or there's some juice in this. And what I'm looking for, Jimmy, is, and this applies to anyone who's on here just launching a brand or thinking about doing an online business, or you have one and you just don't know why people aren't opting in or buying or following. This will apply as well. So what I'm looking for is low-hanging fruit. I think there's this mesh point of what you do really well, your unique history and experience in life. So you have your like tangible talents, which you have many, Jimmy, and then you have your history and experience that makes you very unique. And then you also in the middle have this mesh point of passion, things that just, you can't wait to do. And the more we can find that gel point, that middle ground, and that mesh point of all those three things, the more money you're going to make and the faster you're going to make it. And I know if you weren't on episode, I keep even saying season. If you weren't on episode 1, Jimmy said this very, very well. And just to articulate this again, there's a hook of we're trying to make a 6-figure brand, but this is definitely not all about the money. Like that's just a neat like challenge for ourselves that quantifies our pursuit and our journey. But the quality is that lives are being changed, and people are realizing that realistic doesn't have a place in their lives. So, and Jimmy, that'll actually gives you a prompt to what I noticed in your BPA here, that realistic piece. We're going to come back to that. So here's some things that stood out to me, buddy. What are the questions is, what is your mission? What are your 3 most important goals? Something that I love, and I hope people understand this about you, and we want to communicate this with your branding positioning. Branding positioning being all the subconscious things and also the conscious things that happen when someone lands on your website or your social media or just experiences you, right? And the more we can find all of those things in sync, where your website feels like you, it communicates just like you, and it resonates with the people who are going to get the most out of your message, that's where you're like, boom, 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 boom. That's where you have the Marie Forleo going like that,
right,
above all the people who've taught her marketing, right? She understood how to capture that essence and that feeling of branding. So this stood out to me because we have to communicate this. After coming in contact with me, I want people to feel as though they can now do something they previously didn't think they could. That's huge. I mean, that's almost like, that could be the branding for Freedom Lab, right?
right, sure.
But I was reading this going, dude, I think Freedom Lab has some legs, bro. Like, let's just next season, just you and I pick another guinea pig to go and launch a 6-figure brand, right?
Right.
You work the success, I'll work the marketing.
Absolutely.
All right. So another thing that stood out, what are your top 3 business problems and challenges as you see them now? Do you mind articulating those a little bit?
No, not at all. I'm looking at it here. So let me just kind of read off exactly what I wrote. Number one, I said, I need to be better at what I do. I need to offer value. I'm a firm believer in, what I call Farris first, right? Which is always look at myself and see what I'm not doing well, or, in a given situation where there might be a conflict or a confrontation, what was my part in that, and how can I do better? So for me, a lot of people will sit out here, there's a lot of speakers and coaches and people that say, well, I'm not doing what I want to do, or making the money I want to make, or making the contribution I want to make because, my marketing's bad, or my whatever. Maybe that's true. But at the end of the day, the most valuable thing you have is your quote unquote product or message. And so I always wanted to bring the best part of myself. So number one, I said, I need to get better at what I do, because we can have an unbelievable marketing and branding plan. And if everybody knows about me and then I get my opportunity and I suck, then it's poor, right? You know that from playing football, right? You sit there and lobby the coaches, like, let me play, give me an opportunity. Then you get in there. If you stink it up, it's like, well, hey dude, we gave you the chance and you suck. So, I want to make sure that I'm at the top of my game first and foremost. Number two, I just kind of addressed, I need to be seen, heard, felt from a bigger platform, right? And so again, this is that idea that once you feel like your message or what you have to offer is very valuable, then you need an opportunity to get it out there. There's a lot of people in the world sitting on great ideas, awesome products, great inventions, great messages, with the ability to change lives and help people and change the world, that have no vehicle to get that stuff out there. So for me, I think it's that combination of the two, right? Once the message is there and you feel like the value is there, you need that platform, right? So that's kind of what we're doing here, is we're trying to build that platform. Number three, I don't know how to take myself from where I am now to where I need to go in terms of increasing my profile and exposure, right? That's something I talk a lot about with my clients is, okay, where are you now and where do you want to go? And so then we determine where they are, and then we put a plan in place to get them where they want to go and help them get what they want. What is so important about this relationship is this online, this branding, and this, building out this platform. I'm not an expert in that area. Like I talked a little bit last week. I was a wide receiver, but I didn't work in the marketing department. It wasn't my
right.
So we had other people.
I think the Patriots should have rethought that, man, or the 49ers. Like, someone should have rethought that plan, because you would have been great in marketing.
I know, but at that point in time, my heart was on the field, man. All I wanted to do was play, and I wanted to focus 100% on bringing, the best version of myself. And so a lot of times, that's one of the things where I think a lot of people go wrong is they try to wear too many hats. Do what you do best, and let other experts in other fields do what they do best. So that's a big reason why we're here.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the challenges, like I've been saying, in this industry, of personal growth, right? This self-growth, personal development, whatever you want to call it, that industry, there's way too many people who think they can just put up a website that says, I help you get what you want. and think they're going to like be memorable, right? So what I want to do is dive in, like I was saying earlier, find that low-hanging fruit, that juice that's already working for you. So if you weren't on episode 1, you may have missed that Jimmy is coaching out there. He's making money. He's doing very well, actually. This is how it all began. I noticed a Facebook post, a Facebook video just saying, hey, I'm starting my coaching program. I'm taking 10 applicants, send me a direct message. And I was like, that's my man. That's my man. Let's talk. So immediately got flooded more than he thought he would. And it's kind of cool because out of nowhere, he has a personal brand and a coaching program that supplements what he's doing on the corporate stages all over Fortune 50 right now. So that's really cool. And what works really well is when people know you. Jimmy, you have a great network. You've been on big stages. You've been in the Hollywood scene. You've been in the NFL pro sports scene. You've been a congressman. Sorry, you've run for congressman in Idaho. I mean, you've been on stages and talked to a lot of people, and people know you. So you have this huge advantage of that a lot of people don't have. And when you put out a message like that to your Facebook group, your personal Facebook, saying, I want to coach people who want clarity and traction towards what they want, it's like that's the lowest hanging fruit there is, bro. Because they're like, I don't care what Jimmy does, I'm in. Like, that dude is the man. I love this guy. Everything he touches is gold. Everything he's done in his life has come out of hustle and mental toughness, and he's just such a warrior, I want to follow this guy. And so tell me how much, bro, how much? I mean, you've probably seen this on when you're doing your discovery calls or figuring out if it's a right fit for your coaching program. It's not even a matter of attention and authority and authenticity. They love you. It's probably just a matter of, can I afford you?
Yeah, there was a number of people who, some of those first messages were people that just said, dude, I've known you forever. I've always respected what you're able to do. I figured if anybody knows, whatever they were, if anybody knows how to do it, I would trust you. And so, yeah, there's definitely that, like I said, that low hanging fruit, people that know me. The funny thing was, kind of relating to what you're talking about, is, in some respects, yes, I have some name ID. Yes, I've gotten some exposure, but anytime you break out doing something relatively new or different, you get a lot of people that are like, oh yeah, I know that guy, but I didn't know he was doing that. They're like, oh, I didn't know you were doing this now. So even though they know you and trust you and you've got credibility in other areas, you still have to build that trust and credibility with what you're doing now, which is what I'm in the process of doing. People obviously are like, oh man, that guy was really successful as a football player, came from a small town and, took a half scholarship to Montana, then went undrafted in the league, won a Super Bowl, played 6 years. So if we were talking about training their kid to play football, they'd be like, dude, you're the guy. I know you know what you're talking about. When it comes to this, they're like, well, this guy obviously knew success from his perspective. I kind of need to see, what he can do to help me. Are the things that he did, are those things applicable to me? A lot of those people that know me well were like, dude, I know the things that you did to be successful can help me. Let's go. So other people were thinking, well, I know you've been successful, but I'm interested to know how you can help me. Can you explain that? And so it's just that constant process of building credibility, building a brand. And, like you said earlier, when people see one of my videos or click on my website, go to my Facebook, we want them to automatically, within the first 10, 20 seconds say, I think I know what this guy's about. So that's part of it.
All right. So one of the challenges in this is to carve out that niche, right? You've always heard that expression, get rich in a niche. And when you just want to help everyone be the best they can be, it's like, well, shoot, I can talk about protein shakes. I can talk about a workout routine. I can talk about a meditation. I can talk about a mental practice. I can talk about books. I can talk about, creative expression. I mean, anything and everything, right? So, and it reminds me of one of our clients, mofall.com, MOFAUL.com, who came to us with a brand that had 12 different, I think it was 12 different ways someone can experience their most life. So, and literally it was like nutrition, career. It was like across the board. And we're like, Mo, look, you're going to get a chance to do all of those. And no one knows what the hell you are doing. They're just like, she's a Gwyneth Paltrow, I guess. She's just out there like coaching everything. So no one knows how to refer you. They're just like, well, there's an inspiring person, you know, there's someone who's getting what they want in life. Nobody knew. There was no funnel. There was no articulation of this place is for me, because it was too broad. So what we did is honed in on what that mesh point was for her. Her experience was high end, you know, top of the ladder, corporate ladder, decided that she was going to reinvent her life and her career, went out and launched a personal brand. And now she's helping people understand how to navigate that tingle they feel, or that pain point, that itch they feel in career. So that mesh point of her history and her talent of coaching and helping people get clarity and get traction, that mesh point was her, and it just happened to be her passion as well. Well, as soon as she started to hone in on that and articulate that, and all of her programs and offerings and workshops and webinars were on that topic, what happened? People started signing up, paying her for that career coaching. And then as the career coaching got solved, what next? Well, let's talk about what else is going on in your life, your relationships, your relationship with your body, your relationship with your confidence, yourself. All those things started to unpack and flourish, but we had to create a doorway in which people would know and self-identify that this is for me. And again, this isn't a, I mean, I could have chose your other success, you know, your mental toughness principle about commitment, because this is a really tough place for new thought leaders who are going online to commit to one of these. We'll talk about commit later, maybe when you're having a tough time committing to the one we choose here today and then over the next week. But it's really challenging because you know so many things that can help people, and we have to create that distinction and doorway, unique doorway that nobody else has or nobody does as well as you. So Jimmy, your mesh point, when I'm looking at it, you know, I see this in the BPA, the audience that would most likely benefit from training on a topic like mine is here's how you answered this one. And it's just classic. Anyone who has a desire to go to a new level and get closer to what they really want in life. That is a clone message of almost every new thought leader who's going online. So you get the challenge of that, right?
Well, I do. I guess I would question what, I mean, I get that there's obviously, you know, a lot more to unpack, a lot more to drill down on, but why would I exclude anybody? Because, you know, I think Brendan would tell you that he probably has people that show up at his seminars that he's like, would have never thought that, you know, people that were having trouble with, you know, I'm talking about, initially I started talking about marketing or, you know, high performance, and I got people coming to my seminars because they're having problems with their marriage. You know what I mean? It's like, why would you exclude anybody?
I'll speak to that. Yep. So because I've been on Brendan's journey for a long time, and I think I was sharing this with you offline, is that most people don't realize here's this guy who's a world-renowned high-performance trainer, goes into, you know, coaches the world's best, right? The world's biggest and brightest. And yet he absolutely did not start in high-performance coaching. maybe with his friends and family and people who really knew him and liked him and trusted him, sure. I mean, he was a success magnet, you know, anything you want in life, I can help you get. That kind of message worked really well with, you know, the people who were completely on board with him already. But when it came to creating traction in the marketplace, he got rich in a niche. The first thing he talked about on the biggest stage in his career in like 2006 or 7 was Mark Victor Hansen's book marketing conference, the same one that, you know, we were seeing each other at on the circuit over and over again, right? So I think Mark, I don't know the exact story, but Mark pulled him up on stage to do a talk about how he created partnerships with corporations and nonprofits, organizations to promote his book. That was his big breakthrough. So he created on the fly, because he's Brendan, he created the partnerships seminar or whatever. So it was helping people who want, right? So like he killed it with that. But asked on that stage if he was telling everyone, telling the bookers, telling Mark, telling the audience, hey, I'm a high performance coach. They got plenty of big names in the high performance coaching and success coaching. I mean, the Jack Canfields and all those people, Brian Tracy's in that world, those people were there to talk about that because they had established that bigger brand, right? That they had established, they had climbed that ladder, they had earned. And you don't get there when you first start, except for with the people who already love you. Does that make sense, Jimmy?
No, yeah, it absolutely makes sense. Like I said, but it doesn't make me back any prove that that's what he felt like his message was. You see what I mean? It's like I'll give you an example. When I was playing football, when I was in the NFL, I was mostly a special teams player. In my mind, if one of the coaches said, "Hey, what's your goal? Like, what do you want to do here?" I'd say, "I want to be a Pro Bowl receiver."
Yep.
Now, while that's not yet come to fruition, I'm carving out my niche as one of the top gunners or kickoff coverage guys in the league. Fine, I got no problem doing that. But if you ask me what was my goal, I wouldn't tell you my goal was to be the top gunner in the league.
Nope.
I'm doing that because that's what's got me on the field and getting me a job and keeping me making plays and getting paid until I'm able to create the other thing. So when I asked that question, my mindset was, this is the big picture. This is the big goal. 5 years from now, people that are going to be at my events are going to be people that say, I'm just not where I want to be. And this guy will have something to say that will help me get there. Now, where we start, that's what we're talking about. But I'm not going to limit when I answer that question. I'm not going to say, well, I only want to talk to, potential professional athletes that want to go from high school to college. That's like the narrowest lane message that there is, and it excludes 98% of the population.
And that's where we have to create that distinction, bro. And that we have the big picture in mind, and we're working with what we have right here. And that message, how you brand yourself, will morph as you create a bigger audience and as they get deeper into your message and deeper into your breadth and depth of teaching. To start, we're going to have to put our flag in something. And I think you mentioned it right there, that mesh point of where you've been and where you're really talented and where you're passionate. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you already have clients who are like, hey, bro, or he probably didn't call you bro. I call you bro. But hey, Jimmy, I noticed that thing you're doing on Facebook there with this, mental toughness challenges and success coaching. Like, you're already working with my sons on helping them get to the next level with their athletic performance and hopefully become, follow in your shoes, man, and make their NFL or pro sports dreams happen, and just get that mindset right. So like, what's that success coaching, and could we add that on to what we're doing with my kids? Right?
Yes, absolutely.
So unpack that for me, because there's some juice there.
Well, again, I mean, this is somebody that knows me and kind of knows, what I'm about. And I was, working with his kids in like training them in one of them's going to college to play college football. The other one's a high school basketball player. So I've been working with them, training them physically to be stronger, faster, quicker, and be better at their sport. And, over the course of a couple of years, I've gotten to know the dad really well. He's become a really a close friend and an influential guy for me, somebody that I really go to for a lot of, advice and wisdom and whatever. And so, yeah, I mean, he was like, man, I love what you're doing. I like what the message is. I like what the possibilities are. So let's implement that too. Absolutely.
Okay. So is there any juice there and passion for you if you were to create a merge point? Because anytime we find that sort of bridge of two different passions, you're passionate about fitness, you're passionate about body performance, athletic performance, and the mindsets that go into the field, whatever that, or court, whatever it is, and achieving anything beyond realistic, right? It's like that merge point.
I wouldn't say that I'm passionate about fitness, honestly. I have done fitness, I mean, I speak
you looked yoked, man.
Well, thank you.
Pretty tough there.
I mean, it's not anything I'm trying to do. I'm just, I
want to know that.
I want to know that. But listen, since the time I was 14, I don't know, started lifting weights, I saw being fit and strong and fast and quick as a crucial part of me being the best football player that I could be. And so obviously I valued it at that point in time. I mean, I was, a workout nut. I was always looking for the next best cutting edge training technique or recovery technique or whatever. I mean, so I was only passionate about fitness because it was a big part of something that was a bigger dream of mine. But I don't play football anymore. So my passion for fitness is I want to look in the mirror and be like, all right, you're 38, man, you still got it. I want to be able to go to the beach and take my shirt off. I want, women or my future wife to find me attractive, So I don't really care about fitness in that respect. But what I do care about is, I was just talking about this today with somebody. I am fascinated by people's drive to be great. And I was talking about Kobe Bryant, and I was talking about how I remember when I was, he came out to high school the same year as us, right? And I don't know about you, but when I got to University of Montana, I was projecting this confidence and whatever, but I was going against DBs at University of Montana that were average, and they were killing me, some of them, and barely compete at the 1AA collegiate level right out of high school. Here's Kobe Bryant playing in the NBA. And I'm thinking, I worked tirelessly out day and night for the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years from the time I was 13 or 14. What did this guy so much better than what I was doing that made him ready to play in the NBA? He was playing basketball, I was playing football, but what did he do that got him so much better than what I did got me? And so I'm still fascinated by this element of performance. What is it that people do? What do they tap into that allows them to find this greatness and go to these superhuman levels? And so for me, it's more of a passion for performance and greatness in whatever that field is. I mean, I'm fascinated by executives and CEOs. I'm fascinated by athletes, artists. Sometimes one of my best friends is a R&B artist. Sometimes he plays some of his new stuff for me, and I'm just like, bro, I know you, like I'm your boy and you still amaze me. Like, how did you do that? How did you come up with that? And so that's what really I'm fascinated with, this idea of, you know, what Brendan calls high performance. You know, I mean, what do people tap into? What are these ideas? So that, you know, just to kind of
well said,
put a bow on that. That's what I'm passionate about.
That's perfect. So you're not trying to, you understand. So now we're finding the nuances here. You're not trying to go out and become the next, who are some of the fitness gurus? Tony Blanks?
Who knows? Billy Blanks or somebody.
Like,
yeah, no.
Billy Blanks. Yeah,
No,
that's it.
I don't
become that.
I don't want to do that at all.
No.
One of the things that one of my clients is dealing with is fitness, you know, being overweight, out of shape. And that's part of their problem. That's part of the thing that's keeping them from, you know, feeling happy, being productive, all these things. So that's a component, and I can offer that and add that, but that's not what I'm leading with. I'm not trying to spend my life in a gym, you know, helping people lose 5 or 10 pounds. Like I just,
your vision is way bigger than that, and I know that for sure. So there's some juice in this performance, and I know Brendan has a big flag in that high performance. But I could see an opportunity here where you're working with people who have performance anxiety, or they just want to go in knowing that they've done extra 10% of mental work and preparation to crush it.
yes.
Whether that's a CEO doing a big presentation in front of the board, or Tank, your R&B artist friend, going out on a big tour, or the kid who's like, I have a shot here. I have a shot. I'm going to the combine, and I just want to go in knowing that I am completely 100% mentally dialed to give my best performance.
So that's why mental toughness resonates with me so much, because I remember, you know, my whole athletic career, people would always say, you know, it's 10% physical and 90% mental, right? We've all heard that. What's the difference in a guy who can go to the gym when nobody's watching in practice and hit 10 out of 10 free throws, and then you put him at the line with the game, you know, on the line in the NBA Finals, and he can't hit the broadside of a barn, right? It's what's going on right here. So what is it that takes people, you know, on a scale of 1 to 7, 7 being best? What is it that takes people from a 6.8 to a 7? What are some of these things that these high performance, high performers, great world-class level performers, what are they implementing? What are they doing differently than what I'm doing, or what you're doing, or what he's doing, that's getting them these results? Mm-hmm. And regardless of where you are on that spectrum, right? If you're, like I said, if 7 is high and you're at a 2 or a 3, and you're like, man, you know, what can I do to get to a 4 or a 5? You know, there's a mental toughness principle to help with that. And so I just love the idea. That's why I've really attached myself to this mental toughness stuff, because you know, most of the time people associate mental toughness with, you know, like athletes, or, you know, something physical and manly and whatever, but it's really not. Mental toughness means, do you have the mental toughness to stay committed to something you said you were going to do? Do you have, you want to lose 10 pounds? Are you mentally tough enough to get out of bed every morning when that alarm goes off at 5 a.m.? You say you want to, you know, move your way up, work your way up in the company and land these big accounts. Are you mentally tough enough to do the extra work and stay late day in and day out to study, you know, what it is that you need to know to be prepared to take? I mean, these are mental toughness principles, and this is stuff that you talk about high performance. What are the great ones doing? That's what I'm interested in, you know, knowing for myself and communicating to others. Okay,
so bro, your next level of this, and let's wrap up here, because we're almost at 50 minutes here. Your next level of this is to go, there's no doubt in my mind that you're working with elite performers, or those who want to be an elite performer and want to get those mental toughness principles drilled into their DNA, so that's not even something they have to think about when they go on to the biggest stage in their lives. So I want you to go through, if you're cool, you agree with that so far?
Sure. Yeah.
I don't want to run over, whatever you're thinking here. Will you go through this BPA, we call it branding positioning assessment? Will you go through that BPA and really like readdress? Now put one of your clients, let's say, is it okay if we say Tank? Are we able to use him or?
Sure.
Okay. So Tank is a R&B star. He's good friends with Jimmy. And so imagine you're working with him. Imagine he comes to you and says, I want to cover that gap. I want to be more mentally tough. I want to be able to perform at my highest level when I want to turn that on, right? It's on-demand performance. So imagine he's coming to you and he's saying, help me get there, buddy. What are the challenges he's facing? How does he articulate that? And if you need a different example, someone that you're familiar with that is performing on big stages, go for it. But imagine that person's, okay, so but when I get here, I'm struggling with this, and drill down into those challenges as much as you can. Go deep, those pain points, those problems, challenges, whatever you want to call them. And then on our next episode, we're going to talk about your signature system, which addresses each of those pain points through a proprietary formula, if you will, a process that you take people through. It's like High Performance Academy has, for Brendan, in Brendan's sake, it has like 5, 6 different pillars, and he takes you through a process. So you're going through his program right now, his online program, so you understand. You're working on the persuasion, the what else is it? I should probably psychology. Yep.
Yeah, physical or physiology.
Yeah. So you're going to come up with your signature system, but for the moment, like, go back through this with that person, that avatar, we call them target audience, whatever you want to call it. Think about how they articulate those problems. And if you need to go to those people and say, hey, so how would you describe the gap you experience between 1000% confident and 99% confident, right? How would you describe that? And yeah, go ahead.
So the thing is with that is there's an absolute process, protocol, method to uncover exactly what you're talking about. And it's through a series of very targeted critical thinking questions, things that typically people don't really think about, right? And no matter what their answer is, there's a follow-up question to uncover something else. And so the truth is that a lot of times, again, this is kind of what we were talking about initially. It's not about me telling them what I think they could do to be more successful. It's about me uncovering what their real beliefs are about where they're at. What is success? What really is success to them? Yeah. When they say, like, man, I'm just not really there. Like, I want to go to the next level. Well, what does that look like to you? What would going to the next level feel like to you? If I like say you use Tank as an example, doing a world tour, sold out shows, would that make him feel successful? Or, because I know, for instance, with him, one of the things he loves is just to make good music. Success to him is when he is fulfilled by the music that he's made, right? Whether the album sells 1 million or 100,000, he feels good about the project if he knows he poured his heart and soul into it and he loves it, right? Yeah. So that's success to him in that respect.
I get that. And so your task here is to go and say, how do you articulate, in Tank's case, it might be, dude, I would love to know what are some 5 easy things I can do to just get in the zone when I'm not feeling it, right? Or, I wake up and I'm feeling groggy. Like, what are some things I can do there to just like snap into the flow of creativity and artistry and make my best music no matter what? So like each of your clients or avatars is going to frame that a little bit differently. Get them all, write them all down. Here's my gap. Here's where I struggle a little bit. Here's where I wish I could be a little bit better. You know, that's my game. I want to get better at this point right here. And it sucks because write all that down. And then we're going to work on, well, what is it how would they describe that pleasure point? You know, the opposite of pain is the pleasure, right? So what is the island, as Lisa Sasevich calls it? You know, you're going to fly the plane over to the island. What's that look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like when your avatar describes that? And I want you to go through this BPA with that perspective or that sort of frame and go deeper.
Okay.
So that's gonna. Anything else, Jimmy, you want to say? We're gonna wrap up the show.
Yeah, no, it's great. I think we covered quite a bit, and I like being able to express what I really think and feel about some of this stuff.
I love it, man. I love it. I love hanging out with you, bro.
No doubt.
And if you made it this long in the show, then it's our duty to do roll call with you. You know, Jimmy and I have a long history together, and we have some things that we like to do during shows that only we know about. And so now we want to let you in on this. This will be the way we close the show by doing roll call. So we had a professor. We had a professor who was probably 30 years past his prime at UM, and probably had no business teaching modern business classes. And so he would spend the first 20 minutes of our 90-minute class doing roll call. And it wasn't a normal roll call where you just like, Jimmy Farris, here, check. He had to do the double authorization roll call, which goes like this. Jimmy, you do it.
Miller, Jason Miller.
Yeah.
Miller, you here?
Yes.
Oh, didn't see. He literally, head buried in his notepad, couldn't hear, with his back like to the class. So you would say here, he'd just sit there with his back to you. He wouldn't hear you. He'd ask again, you'd say here, he'd go, oh, okay. Every day. 20 minutes to get through roll call. Like college class, like who cares if you're not there? If you don't show up for a college class, that's your fault. I mean, why are we really taking roll in college?
But not just any roll, double authorization roll. I have to hear you twice and see you twice before this is actually going to get into my notebook so that you don't get an F in the class.
Right.
So if you ever see us going, oh, wait, I guess we should expand this because there's a roll call and then might want to know that.
Dave might want to know that for a later episode. That's a whole another topic.
Dave might want to know that. If you ever see us going, might want to know that, then you'll know we're talking about the same professor. So that wraps up season 1, episode 2 in the Freedom Lab. I'm Jam at Peaceful Media. This is my man, Jimmy Farris.
Love you guys. I'm out.
Peace.